welcoming our speaker for today, Rotarian Boniface Mbithi.
In front of the banner. I think so.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. Thank you, President. So it's a pleasure being in Rotary Club of not Syokimau, of Embakasi. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Syokimau, but a very good friend of the Rotary Club of Embakasi. As President has mentioned, we've been involved in a couple of projects. We've also, as an organization through Computers for Schools Kenya, we've donated medical equipment to the club. And we're also looking at other projects to work together. So for today, the discussion will be around circular economy and e-waste management. So if you allow me, I will share my screen. Is echo somewhere? This technology.
It's okay.
It's already shared?
It's shared.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We, maybe we are the ones who can view. Yes. Not yet, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah. So,
shared.
all right. So we should be good now. So I'll be talking about circular economy and also e-waste management. And so that everybody understands the topic of the day, I think it is important to just move to the definition. About circular economy, this is where first there are principles that apply, whereby we need to ensure that we take care of our environment, we take care of the commodities and goods that we use and consume, from the initial stage of design of that equipment, to the production, to even transportation, to the consumption, and even to the final destination. And that is the end life of whatever equipment we have. So in a circular economy, as it is said, you have all this equipment in a closed loop in the cycles that you see from the screen that is shared. The first circle, the outer circle, where you have the words refuse, reform, reduce, and reuse, and recycle, those are principles that are used in circular economy. So where the world is moving to is a world where the thinking is circular and the design of the equipment is also circular, as opposed to linear. Linear is where equipment are produced, we consume them or use them, then we throw them away in the garbage. So that is what is traditionally is the linear economy. But if we go to the circular economy, what you're seeing on the screen will be the approach from the design of that equipment. Once you design equipment that is good and long lasting, you're contributing to a circular economy. When you go to the production, the same. Transportation, if you're transporting that equipment, the means of transport, is it something that will negatively affect the environment, or will you be also producing a lot of CO2? When you go to consumption, are you using any equipment optimally? For example, if it's a mobile phone, I know some of us change mobile phones every now and then. Are you using it up to its end of life? If not you can give it to the next person who needs that phone. Then when you're not using that phone, when it reaches end of life, do you have somebody who is able to responsibly collect it and recycle it? And by recycling, you'll be able to extract raw materials to build other equipment. So that's just the definition. And then when it comes to implementing it, it can be implemented in any sector, as you can see in the screen, from the production sector to the services sector, to the logistics, consumption, processing, and even the design. And in all these sectors, you find whatever it is that is used in all these sectors requires you to use it in a way that it does not negatively affect the environment. It does not also negatively affect the human and any plant or, yes, the environment and human health and anything in the planet. So that's all about the definition of circular economy. I will go quickly because of time. And if you have any questions, you can note them, and I'll take all those questions at the end of the presentation. Then e-waste and circular economy. Of course, e-waste is electronic waste. And I will not say everything that is on the screen, but it is important for you to read what is on the screen for better understanding. So I'll also say other things that are not on the screen. So basically, e-waste is anything that is electronic or electrical that has either been overtaken by technology or has become obsolete. And we have about 6 streams of electronic waste that now defines which category all these products fall into. For example, there is large equipment, which consists of things like fridges, washing machines. We have small IT equipment like mobile phones and many others. So all those things that we use in our homes and offices, one day they become obsolete, meaning you cannot use them, or they become overtaken by technology. For example, mobile phones. Now in this era where everybody needs to be online, if you have a phone that perhaps cannot go online, it qualifies to be electronic waste because it has been overtaken by technology. And e-waste is the fastest growing stream in the world. As you can see on the screen, it is projected that by 2030, we'll be producing 74.7 million metric tons of e-waste. Yeah. Just to bring that into perspective, those will be 7,390 Eiffel Towers, the ones in Paris. If they are arranged in whichever order, whether going up or horizontally, you have 7,390 of those by 2030 if we don't take care of the situation. And currently, this is data for 2019. But in 2020, research shows that the world is producing about 53.4 million metric tons. That weight is more than the weight of every adult in Europe. So you can imagine all the adults in Europe put together, the e-waste we are generating as a globe is more than that weight. That weight is, if you put all those things together, the electronic waste together, they can form a line of up to 125 kilometers. 125 kilometers from Nairobi can take you to your rural home, I believe, unless some of us are, their rural home is in Nairobi. Meaning the situation is really bad, and people need to take responsibility when it comes to e-waste management. This is still a continuation of what I'm saying. Why we need to manage electronic waste. First, if you look at this part on the left and the bottom here, these are the things that are contributing to the high rates of generation of electronic waste. The first one is higher levels of disposable income. In developed countries and even in developing countries, people have a very high appetite of acquiring IT equipment. So that makes e-waste to become easily generated and frequently. And then urbanization, of course, also is leading to that. Industrialization. And if you combine urbanization and industrialization, you realize that like now during COVID, we are consuming a lot of electronics. Companies are investing in better systems and better technologies for them to be able to go online. And even individuals are also doing the same, so that we are not left out. Meaning, for example, if a company was using a Core i3 computer, they will need to upgrade maybe to a Core i5 for them to be able to be online in a stable manner. Meaning a lot of e-waste will be generated during the COVID time. Same to plastics. Plastics will also be generated because you realize a lot of home packaging and deliveries are being done using plastics. Only very few restaurants will deliver your food in material that is not plastic. And On the right here, this shows from 2014 to 2019, countries have been taking, or rather paying attention to e-waste management and even putting proper laws to allow e-waste to be properly managed. And you can see in 2014, only 61 countries had proper legislation. And as we go forward to 2019, we had 78, and that keeps growing. This is also information on why it is important to manage e-waste. You can see in Europe, each household contains an average of 72 electrical and electronic devices, 11 of which are broken. I don't know in your homes how many electrical, maybe you need to take account of how many electrical and electronic devices you have in your house and how many of those are broken or are no longer in use. You'll be surprised, meaning you're keeping a lot of these things and you might not be aware that they're harmful to you, to the environment, and even to current and future generations. You can see on the right, we are doing 7.5 kilograms generation of e-waste every year, every person. So for example, myself, means by the end of the year, I would have generated 7.5 kilograms of e-waste. By 2030, that number will grow up to 9.0. Improper ways of e-waste disposal. Ideally, when people think of disposing waste, we just think about dumping, and we end up dumping in the dump site. And dumping might seem to be convenient, but it is dangerous. People feel once you put everything in the dustbin, you've gotten rid of it. But ideally, you're just transferring the problem from your house to another place. If electronics end up in the dump site, they will produce greenhouse gases, which will again inhale. Yeah. And in Nairobi, you see, when you drive around, you see most places you find electronics thrown, printers, cables. And when you inhale those fumes, they have negative effects on your body. When water gets into contact with those electronics in the dump site, the same water is still carried to our rivers. For example, Nairobi River, I'll give that as an example. You find that the electronics are mostly dumped there. And when you sell your electronics to the highest bidder, or you just put them in the bin, there are people who go and remove the only bit they need, and the rest they throw. And mostly it is thrown in Nairobi River. And also the water in the dump site ends up going to the river. And downstream that river, you find very healthy vegetables that have been planted, sukuma wiki, and very many vegetables. So when we eat those vegetables, they have already absorbed heavy metals from the electronics, and then they go into our bloodstream. So when you out here say that you're a vegetarian, you're also endangering your life. When you say you only eat in meat, again, is a problem, because if that cow consumed water from that river, it will also be in the bloodstream of the cow. If you consume it, it will end up in your own body. So when we don't manage e-waste, we're just living by chance. And then, Nairobi River goes all the way to the Indian Ocean, because it connects with Athi River, passes through Central Province all the way to Eastern Kambani area, all the way to coast. And research has also shown that the higher cases of cancer are in those provinces, from Nairobi to Central Province, to Eastern, and to coastal region, as compared to these other areas. And this is because we are not taking care of our river in Nairobi, and most of the electronics end up in that river. So if you're disposing your e-waste, you have to be careful on how you're disposing it, so that you don't harm yourself, because these things, they come back to you. You might not know. When you put them in the bin, you think you're done with them, but one way or another, they will end up coming back to you. This is an example in Ghana. There's a dump site in Ghana. This dump site is the dump site I've visited. It is an equivalent of our dump site in Dandora. So whatever this slide is saying, it should be also applicable to our dump site cited Dandora, whereby the level of toxins in the eggs of the hens living near that dump site was 220 times higher than what is permitted. Now, you can imagine, so this shows how bad it is, because it means if you're not eating meat and you say you're eating eggs to get proteins, you still end up consuming eggs that are contaminated with toxins. And if this is the data that was done in Ghana by, this is actually done by UN bodies, it shows that we need to be careful, because you never know where this will end up. So the only way is to be responsible. And then the dangers of improper e-waste disposal, some of these I've mentioned. Of course, when the e-waste is thrown into the landfills, the toxins seep into the groundwater. They're also swept away into our rivers and our other water sources. And then they come into contact with our food, because we'll still consume that food, being that we need the water to irrigate our crops, and our animals also consume the same water. And if you're buying food from the supermarkets, doesn't mean you're exempted, because where do also the supermarkets get the food from? It also comes from our farms. So it's a matter of everybody being responsible in how they're taking care of electronic waste. So I hope this grid is very clear, because this is important. These are some of the illnesses that are associated with what I'm saying when you consume things that have e-waste. And these are things we consume every day. If you wish, tomorrow you can go to the doctor and check the amount of heavy metals in your body. We'll all have heavy metals in our bodies. It will depend with the concentration, meaning at some point you'll be exposed to certain diseases. So as you can see, lead, which is here, you can see the areas it affects. It affects your brain, affects your nerves. Which other organ is this? It affects several organs. It destroys the nervous system, kidneys, blood systems. I don't know why Prezo, you're laughing. This is serious. This is not a laughing matter. Biology. Yes. So all these metals, and this is just an example, because electronic waste consists of 69 elements. From the periodic table that we were studying in high school, 69 of those elements are found in electronics. And all of them, when they come into contact with your body, they have areas they affect. The most known one is cancer. Most of these cause cancer. You can see there is a bromine, for example, is carcinogenic. Yeah, it causes the shape of the heart to change, and also the mass of fibers will change, and it will affect your body. Cadmium, it causes poisoning to the lungs, to the kidneys, leading to kidney failure. Mercury, nervous system is destroyed, including the brain, the spinal cord, and your arms. You even start shaking and lose speech and vision. Chlorine, you can see what it does, destroys your teeth, toothache. It causes tooth decay. Yeah, so you might be having a toothache, but you don't know what caused that. And then lead from your brain all the way to the kidneys and to the bloodstream. So all the 69 elements or metals that are found in electronics, all of them have a unique complication that they bring into your body. And this is global. Yeah. So I'll bring you now to the Kenyan perspective in terms of e-waste generation. So in Kenya, currently now we are generating about 51.3 thousand tons of e-waste. And a few years back, we were doing 44,000 tons of e-waste. And in 2011, we were doing 11,000 tons of e-waste. So you can see how that is growing very fast, yeah? Because we are consuming a lot of electronics and the appetite keeps going up. So this is not a situation where we can run away from, but we can only manage it. Issues like cancer is really going up very fast because we are not taking care of this. So if we could find a way of at least managing e-waste properly, we'll also reduce such cases. And you can see from my right here, we're only recycling 1%. And the bigger chunk of the 1% is what we recycle at the waste center, because we have data that shows everything that we collect. And to date, we've done over 10,000 tons of e-waste that we've safely disposed. The 99% is not defined, meaning these are things that are being held in offices, others have been held in homes, others have been illegally traded through people who don't have proper disposal ways. With e-waste, it's not like any other waste. It needs more sophistication in terms of equipment that you'll use. So Waste Center, where we manage e-waste, this is just a small overview of what we do there and who we are. But this can be a conversation for another day. But quickly, Waste Center is the top e-waste management organization in Africa. So we are the biggest in Africa in terms of recycling, and we are supporting other countries in Africa. And recently, we're also supporting South America through Colombia. So at the Waste Center on the right here, this is a process which is also circular. So we ensure that all our processes are circular, from the collection, whether from your home or from your office. And then once it comes to the facility, there's an inventory of everything that is taken, the serial numbers and data of the weight. Then everything is broken down through dismantling. Then there's sorting. We have equipment to test, like batteries. We have equipment to test the ones that are functioning and can be reused. And then there is the reuse, recycling, refurbishment, and upcycling, where now, once everything is sorted, at this point, if it is metal, metal is melted. Plastics, they are converted to other things, like with plastics, we're able to make cabros and so many other things. Things like copper, they are able to make jewelry. Final disposition is where now whatever that cannot be recycled or rather reused is converted into something else. Like now, this is a CRT cutter. This is a CRT. We use a CRT cutter to separate this. The glass is shredded, mixed with other things. We're able to make rods and floors. There is the aspect of manufacturing, where we get components and manufacture other products from those components. And then anything that we are not able to handle locally, we ship to our partners in Europe, who we've partnered with, to ensure that they get whatever they can get, and they produce new equipment from that. But in the near future, we'll be doing all those things, even the extraction locally. And then CFSK, which is Computers for Schools Kenya. This is who we are. We focus on ICT in education. We have 8 regional offices in Kenya. We've done over 450,000 devices. We've reached over 4 million Kenyans in over 10,000 institutions, trained over 100,000 educators, and 200 schools are using our ICT curriculum. On the SDGs, we also have to align ourselves with the SDGs in whatever we do. And these are some of the SDGs, especially SDG 11, that promotes responsible consumption. Also 12, that also promotes sustainable cities. There's 13 issues to do with the water and other things. So we make sure all the processes are aligned into the 17 SDGs that are there. And then our presence in Africa, this is our presence in Africa. We have the headquarters for the Waste Center in Kenya, where I am as a CEO for that. And we have operations in Uganda and Tanzania. And we have partners that we support in these countries, about 15, all the way from up there in Morocco. We have our staff working in Madagascar, and recently Colombia also. So that is our small contribution to issues of e-waste. I don't know if there's time for questions. I was going to be quick so that if people have questions, I can take them. So that is the end of the presentation. If somebody has a question, we can take